Welcome back to the pod. We got a very special guest today. She's actually watched all 4 episodes of the podcast. I don't think any of you have done that, you fucking turds. She has. And let's start off with an accolade that's just wild beyond belief. The Formula One Monaco Grand Prix is one of the main ones where they shut down an entire city to do an event. Ashlee was very instrumental into bringing that to Dallas. So the Red Bull racing team came out to Dallas and we shut down most of Uptown to do that event, and she coordinated a good amount of that. And where it is Harwood, and she happens to be the property manager for Harwood, the district property manager, like the whatever, what do you do for a living, Ashlee? I can go on about her accolades, but she's a pretty big badass.
Yeah. Kind of a big deal. No, I'm the director of property management for Harwood International. We own and operate 19 city blocks in uptown Dallas. We are a development, commercial real estate, hospitality company. We own 11 commercial office buildings, 14 restaurants, a hotel, private members only club, all within 19 city blocks in uptown Dallas. Pretty cool venture that Harwood is.
Yeah, I knew her through the car community, like 2015. I started Exotic Drive Club. Most of you know about that. She is a massive car girl. I met her through one of the members that had a Supra, and now she also has a LC 500, fully souped out, one of the sickest looking LC 500s. Got to hear it on the highway a little bit. It's raining today, but I did get to hear it a little bit.
Yeah, I had to give it to you a little bit so you could feel it. But yeah, with the roads wet, she gets a little slippery.
Yeah. So she's a genuine car girl, and bringing Red Bull down here to Dallas and shutting down most of Uptown, which they manage like all the circling properties within Harwood district. What a badass introduction to her 2 years ago.
Yep.
And now today, it was raining. She decided to take me out to actually see the rest of Harwood, at least a good portion of it. Their new hotel, Swexon, and then their restaurant, Stillwell, as well. So she gave me a view and took me around all the properties. There's an actual, what do they call those cars that take you around everywhere?
They're gym cars.
The gym cars.
Yeah, it's the actual brand. And we have a whole fleet of gym cars that our tenants get to use, and they get to travel all around Harwood District anytime during the day. They can call a car and it'll take them to any of our venues. They can have lunch, happy hour, whatever. It's pretty cool.
Imagine you're like a commercial tenant that owns the buildings or just visiting people that stays in the hotel. You get an actual private little gym car that takes you across all of that. How luxurious is that? I got to experience, I was like a child in a golf cart being taken around. It was an amazing experience. Harwood is amazing for doing all kinds of creative stuff. It's not a plug, but she did take me out to dinner at that Stillwell place. 5-star dining experience. Thank you for that.
Of course.
We both have curly hair, so the rain and all that was very friendly to us, and we showed up at a 5-star restaurant enjoying it, having the luxuries of it and being ourselves. That private experience was just amazing. So what I saw during our dinner was how passionate she is about her company that she works for. Tell us more about why you're so passionate about where you work.
Yeah, Harwood's pretty magical. It's a private owned company. We're owned by the Barbier Mueller family. It started in 1984. Gabrielle he's a visionary. He started buying property around uptown Dallas. They now own 19 city blocks in uptown. We have 11 commercial office buildings, about 3 million square feet total. We're around 95% occupied, really good in commercial real estate right now, considering the state of the union. We also own 14 hospitality venues within those 19 city blocks. We just opened our first hotel, Swexon, in July. It's pretty awesome. It's a 136 room boutique hotel, European style with a Texas flair. So every room is different. We have 3 restaurants and a private members only club within the hotel. So that was a whole new adventure that we brought into the Harwood district. And overall, we are one of a kind, an amenity-based commercial real estate neighborhood. We term it the Harwood District. It's on Harwood Street in between McKinnon and Harry Hines. Some of the most popular venues that most people know us for is Happiest Hour and Tataseo. They are some of the top bars, restaurants in Dallas. Just a super cool, fun spot. And so the family, Gabrielle started Harwood in 1984 and started buying property, and he's a visionary, and Harwood is one of a kind, like I said, magical. We bring tenants into the district, and we really try and make it a overall experience. We have developed and built 2 private condo complexes within the Harwood district. You can live, work, play all within Harwood. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the level of luxury is just insane. So if you're one of our millionaire viewers, I highly recommend living there. I mean, even the Hotel Swexon, just checking that out, the view, it's like high rises in New York type of view. You're viewing all the best commercial properties, no matter what angle you're looking from the restaurant or from your hotel room. It's a magnificent sight. Honestly, I felt like a complete slut today. There's a luxury slut. It's enticing. If for a date night or anything, just you're a classy human being that's also just a rebel. You would completely enjoy that.
Yeah, and the speakeasy. I didn't talk about the speakeasy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's super cool. We have a speakeasy on the hotel called Baboo's. It's open to the public, but it's really cool. It's 2 levels. One side of it is like an intimate nightclub, and the other side of it is like a cozy library, and it's really cool. You could be at work, you could call a gym car, you could get off, go to happiest hour for happy hour, and then go have dinner at Stillwell's, and then go in the night at a speakeasy, all within 2 blocks of each other. It's
mind blowing. It's one of the best speakeasies I've ever been to, and it just opened.
Yeah.
The separation for the library part and the intimate club. For all the DJs that have been on the podcast, they have CDJ 2000s over there too. Like, it's crazy. Legitimate setup for just an intimate place, because apparently one of the owners takes audio really seriously. In fact, a couple of the DJs that have been on this podcast have DJed for Happiest Hour. So what Very a small cool. world. I can't believe I forgot to mention Happiest Hour and Tediso. Those are massive staples of just downtown culture. Like Happiest Hour especially. That's one of my favorite places to go in downtown. The only place I'll go deal with downtown parking and downtown traffic, because it's just a great vibe. The food's great, the drinking, and just the ambience of everything surrounding. Had no idea that one massive company owns all of that around.
Yeah.
Even cooler, the place we had dinner, the steakhouse, they have their own cows. Harwood has their own cows that they raise and massacre for all of your viewings. This is why I'll never be sponsored by corporations, because I'll say shit like that. But yeah, that's a real thing. Yeah,
so we have a Harwood beef program. We have a ranch where we raise our own cows, and you can go all over the Harwood district, and there's HWD as our beef. And there's a special steak menu where you can order steak that comes from our cattle raised in Texas. We actually control all of the feed and how they're raised and how they're taken to the table. And it's one of a kind, some of the best steak I've ever had in my life. Also, not a plug. It's I'm a little biased. It's delicious.
Yeah, and to clear up, there literally is no plugging, because I barely have viewers, so they're definitely not coming on to give a whole take this guy and take advantage of him type of thing. The beef is definitely the best. I can vouch for it as of today. And for the first time in my life, I also had Wagyu.
Yeah.
Thanks to Ashlee's everywhere Ashlee goes, she's some ultra VIP. So even in the restaurant, the chef's bringing out all the appetizers and little samplings. They just said, all you have to worry about is the entree. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, for the anxious person inside of me, I had to make no decisions besides just pick your cut of beef.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very beautiful experience. So
Good.
The F1 thing, this is a commercial development project, and you would not expect this for commercial property managers to bring in something as cool as F1 and shut down the entire place. So how did that start?
Yeah, we were approached by a marketing firm called LST. They are all over the United States, but Univision is one of the main sponsors for Checo Sergio Perez, which is one of the F1 drivers for Team Red Bull. So they wanted to bring him into Dallas and showcase a Red Bull show run, since the race was in Austin. Still is in Austin. So it was about 2 years ago in 2021, the week before the Austin GP at COTA. Harwood, myself, and some crucial members of my team at Harwood got together with LST and the American Airlines Center, and we shut down uptown Dallas and brought in an F1 car and raced it up and down the streets for 2 hours, and it was so fun.
How fucking badass is that? 2 years ago, and them having you on the team, you're a genuine cargo and an F1 girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Even recently, a week ago, you guys got Haas.
Yeah, so MoneyGram is one of my tenants in Harwood. They're one of the main sponsors for the Haas team, which is one of the 10 F1 teams currently. They have 2 drivers. Yeah, so Kevin Magnuson and Nico came into the Harwood district, and they were at Hotel Swexen. They stayed at the hotel, and we had a little meet and greet for them at the top of the hotel. And I got to meet both drivers and Gunther, which he steals the show. He's a really cool guy. And if any of you watch Drive to Survive, he is exactly the way he is on Drive to Survive. I talked to him for 45 minutes. Really cool dude. Both drivers were so nice and genuine, and it was really cool just to meet some F1 drivers. Being a diehard F1 fan, like I'll wake up at 2:00 in the morning and watch the race because I'm passionate about it. But it was cool. It was cool to have them in the Harwood district and to know that they are a part of Harwood as the tenants for MoneyGram being some of our tenants and also sponsoring this F1 team, and them taking the opportunity to bring the drivers in and show them what Harwood is about. It was the first time both of them had ever stayed in Dallas, and they got to stay in our new hotel, and they just raved about it and were so happy. Said it was one of the nicest hotels they'd stayed in for the whole season, and it was just really cool to share that experience with them.
That's so cool. And a hotel that you're the property manager of, you're one step away from viewing one of the people that are the most famous human beings on Netflix, Gunther, and you get to have him stay at the hotel you manage, and amongst all the other buildings you manage. And they can also shut down half of Uptown with you, and they can just be looking at it from their hotel room. Gunther can be like radioing into the Formula One drivers. Like, how cool is that?
It would be cool.
This is a real thing that like already has happened with Red Bull, and now it can happen with Haas or any other teams. And Ashlee is one of the human beings responsible for that.
Yeah, they brought the Haas car to Happiest Hour. So we had the Haas car in front of Happiest Hour. We got to see the new paint job up close and personal, and it was very cool.
Oh my God, that was a new one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. They bought the actual F1 car there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's even rare that F1 teams will bring out their actual newest car that they're racing.
Yeah, they trailered it in.
Wow.
We put it in front of Happiest Hour. It was pretty cool to see it up close. I tried to talk them into letting me sit in it, and it didn't happen, but I tried.
Of course, because you're a genuine car fan. This is, as you can tell, I'm already getting excited about this guest as if I haven't been. Those that know, I started one episode of a podcast 6 years ago, and ever since I've known Ashlee, I wanted to bring her on, especially after the Formula One thing 2 years ago with Red Bull. And since then, she's done even more badass things. And again, this all sounds like a Harwood plug, but it's not. She also was a part of the team that helps out making Steve Aoki come here, and Sikik, and Brett Caroline, and a bunch of big EDM names that would usually be reserved for festivals. They threw their own festival in the middle of Uptown.
We did. Yeah, it's super cool. We have our COO of hospitality. He's a really cool dude. He's from Vegas. Most of his career was in Vegas, so he knows a lot of people, and he has brought some really cool acts to Harwood. And we throw up this big fence around Happiest Hour and set up this huge stage a day before and bring in people like Steve Aoki and Sikik and have a huge party in Harwood, and it's so much fun.
It's just what a small little podcast we have going, and we're talking to the people responsible for some of the biggest things going on in Dallas, at least.
It's Harwood. We're one of a kind and do some really cool things, but it's our ownership. They're awesome and ambitious and want to make Dallas and Uptown in the Harwood district unique. And we have really great people that work for us, and they're very open-minded, and we come up with some great ideas, and it's all come together and make every year Harwood gets just better and better. It's really fun. They
sound like massive risk takers. You work for a corporation that takes risk to do creative things.
Yeah.
What made them want to bring on people like Steve Aoki? Because that is not a cheap feat to bring on such a headliner act. One of the busiest, top producing DJs in the world.
Yeah. It's also a business. So there's not really places that do that in Dallas. We have, if you're part of the EDM community, we have like Stereo Live and The Factory and Southside, but they're all indoor. We have a new festival. I guess it's been here 3 years, Ubby Dubby, but that's really it. So to have somewhere like Happiest Hour where it's a different act every weekend and you can just go out and not have to do the whole festival scene, and have some fun and be able to see a cool DJ. It's just not happening in Dallas. So it's worth the risk because nobody else is doing it, and it's been successful. So why not keep doing it from a business standpoint?
I completely forget that Dallas is so limited on festival things like that for the EDM community. It's usually indoors, and if it is outdoors, it's a big operation, and the tickets are going to be matching that price.
Yep.
But with Harwood, this is where my business side kicks in. You could have paid $50 and been like pretty much close to front stage.
Yeah.
For $50, you could have been that close to Steve Aoki and had cake thrown in your face.
Yeah.
And it happened for many people. And it was actually somewhat of an intimate setting, even though there were like tens of thousands of people. It was still a pretty intimate setting because it's in the middle of Uptown and people are just coming. It's almost like a free show almost just to advertise Harwood itself, like a corporation. What a unique way to advertise themselves. Like that's truly bringing value. Once you have those dollars, you're actually bringing that type of value. So that's amazing. My experience with the Steve Aoki concert, Ashlee's just a badass. I'll keep bragging on her for a little longer.
I'm not really as cool as he makes me sound.
Man, let me tell you this. Okay, so I show up and she immediately gets me in. I don't even do a ticket or anything, gets me in. We're at a VIP table. And then she's like, you want to get close enough to where he can throw his sweat at you off of his fucking cheekbones? I'm like, yes. And she takes me back up to the ticket counter and is like, hey, VIP.
Give him a wristband. He's with me.
Yeah. And then he's like, are you sure? And you're like, yeah, I know this person. And then the person she's talking about to give me access to that swings by and he's like, do whatever the fuck she tells you. give him whatever he needs. Whatever she tells you to do it. And I was like, what an ultra VIP, like the Formula One thing too. We were just up there right next to everyone, had all the access. And then Steve Aoki, like what a variety. The cars, the music, like the DJ and me, and like, that's amazing. So she gets me the VIP wristband, immediately walks me up like right next to the stage. I could walk up there. Like security was decent, I'll say allegedly, but I could have just.
Security was great.
Yeah,
they just knew who I was.
I could have bum rushed the stage. I mean, I was that close to him. I was literally next to the steps to climb up and go DJ. Of course, like every other DJ, I had my flash drive ready too, just in case Steve Aoki fainted or whatever. And sure enough, like he did start throwing cakes at everyone. And he didn't actually throw it at me. I'm exposing myself. But someone next to me that had cake on them, I'm like, please. And so they just put cake on my face. So I'm like, yes, I'm sleeping on this side tonight. And Steve Aoki what an amazing person. Like he's genuinely DJing. I saw it. I'm a DJ. I can tell he was genuinely DJing. He doesn't have to. Yeah. That was his second stop out of 3 for the night. He was in like Colorado or something, New Mexico. And then he took his jet, flew down to Dallas, did a whole show, did not hold back at all. Even though it was in a typical festival or a club shutdown, he was paid well and he gave it all. He probably doesn't even care about money at this point, but he gave it his all. He started
was having
singing.
Fun for sure.
He was. And I think he almost needed that.
Yeah.
That was the beauty of like Harwood events. It's, hey, we're already paid. We just want you guys to know about us. Have fun.
Let's have fun. Yeah.
And he did. And I never knew Steve Aoki sings too. So he grabbed the mic and he sang at least 3 or 4 songs like out of his heart. He's actually a pretty good singer.
Yeah.
He was singing emo songs out of all the things that would have surprised me about him. He's singing emo songs, going up and down the stage, throwing cakes, and he's just smiling the whole time. People in the audience are looking at him like, hey, I've slept with you before. Pay attention to me. And he's looking down like, I might have slept with you. Here, can you go talk to her? Not trying to expose you, bro.
Cake that girl. Cake that girl.
Please. Man, he doesn't hold back. He even grabbed a girl like from exactly the area I was, and she walked up the steps and she stood on the other side, and he like football rammed her like a linebacker with cake. Man, he had a big old smile. He enjoyed his time.
It was so fun. So
the car stuff, she's a badass woman. Let's dive deeper into how she became who she is. Because one thing about us, somehow we've gotten lucky. We've interviewed half females and half males, which is an amazing thing. I've always wanted to do something like that, where I talk to people that I'm genuinely inspired by. And luckily, it's been 50% males and females.
And I'm like 50-50. I'm like half girl, half boy.
Yeah, we're very progressive around here.
Not physically.
Okay, there we go. Clarification.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had like your dad, you said he probably wanted a son, but he got 3 girls, right?
Yeah, I'm a middle girl. I have an older sister. We're 9 years apart. I have a younger sister. She's 4 years younger than me. And then my dad actually got remarried, and I have a younger brother who's 17. So he did finally get a boy. But when I was growing up and developing and becoming who I was, there were only 3 girls. Yeah, I was the tomboy. My dad and uncle built hot rods my whole life. They raced at Devil's Bowl Speedway, which This past weekend was the last weekend ever of Devil's Bowl in Dallas for any of the nostalgia race car drivers around Dallas. A very sad time. But my dad and uncle were at Devil's Bowl every weekend. They built race cars and hot rods, and I loved being in the garage with my dad and just spending that time and watching him build motors and going to swap meets and buying new cars and watching them just take this piece of metal and would turn it into something beautiful. And the speed and hearing the engine roar and the mechanics of it. I was always intrigued by watching him put an engine together, and what it took to build this from nothing it was amazing. And then to get in the car and him to take me for a ride and feel the speed and adrenaline, and I was hooked. So young, so hooked. I always wanted to be in the garage. And then once he saw that passion within me, like any good dad, he's going to build me go-karts. And then he saw that I loved the go-karts and how much I loved racing them. And I was actually pretty good. We built faster go-karts and more go-karts. And I raced for 4 or 5 years competitively and just loved it. And that's where my car addiction started. It's never went away.
Wow, didn't know that. Okay, 5 years you raced competitively on the go-karts.
Yeah.
And he would have never known you'd be responsible for bringing F1 to Dallas, like being a partial taker in that. That's amazing. Just, you never know where life can lead. So
definitely.
You got the nerdy sides and the adrenaline sides of your car love through your dad.
Yep.
And it genuinely just became a thing. And it was a progressive load on your passion. It just kept building and building over years, decades maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. My whole life. Definitely.
Was that one of the ways you got closer to your dad?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, we shared that passion. And my dad was always very supportive of anything that I was passionate about. But then once I became passionate about something he was passionate about, it got better and better.
Interesting. So he was still supportive of your other passions throughout. What were your other passions?
Yeah, soccer. I started playing soccer very young. I was 6 and loved it immediately. And he just supported me. He took me to all my games. He would practice with me in the front yard. And I was actually pretty good at soccer too. I played for a club league around Dallas called Genesis. And every weekend he would get up, we would drive to a different town or for a tournament, and not realizing it then, but it was really expensive to play club soccer. And he did whatever he could to support me and help me just thrive in the environments I was passionate about.
The level of passion that you take into everything. We've talked about this off camera, but you go all in on whatever it is you do.
I go all in real quick.
So that's soccer or anything, F1, go-kart racing, family, relationships, self-growth. That's one of the biggest things I want to do with this podcast, is bring people on with that mentality. She's also very fit, very good looking. She's dominating in her career. She's done some badass stuff. These are things I want to exemplify. Like, you only get this example through celebrities or people you already know about with tens of thousands of followers or millions of followers. I don't know how many followers you have, but I'm sure it's not a social influencer.
400 maybe.
Yeah, there we go. And you would never know about her unless it was for something like this. That's, to be fully transparent, I'm looking for my future wife. I'm looking for growth as a human being. I'm looking for all the things that would explode my life, my net worth. And one of the ways of doing that is talking to people, like increasing your circle with badass people like this.
Networking.
Yeah, networking. And this is one of the most genuine ways, because if I wasn't recording, I've said this on every episode, even if I wasn't recording, these are the conversations we've had. And this is exactly what we talked about during dinner. So
yeah,
we almost felt like we ran through everything at dinner.
I know,
but it's not possible. It's not possible. All of the badassery usually comes with a tough upbringing, right?
Yes.
So let's go into that a little bit.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. What was your relationship like with your parents?
Yeah, so my parents were very different. I had a very tough mother. She was alcoholic, into drugs, abusive. It was tough. It was tough. And she was the primary caregiver. And childhood trauma builds so much of who we are as an adult before we even realize that it's building who we are. I'm very fortunate, though, to have an amazing dad who supported me and tried everything he could to just be there for me and show me he loved me, and tried to be the primary caregiver, but things happened where he could not get custody. So I lived with my mom most of my life and had a pretty tough childhood. Definitely.
These are some of the things. If you like met Ashlee or saw her in a suit, you'd make a lot of assumptions about who she is. Just a career woman, just a dominant species, and not much going wrong in her life or what her story might be. But this is the common theme with everyone we've had. You can judge them as much as you want, but you end up hearing about this, how most of their life was not at all fruitful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have experiences through our childhood that are tough, but not many of us feel comfortable being that vulnerable where we can talk about it.
Ashlee actually felt comfortable and made herself comfortable to come on the podcast and be vulnerable about her childhood, her abuse with mom, her family, because of one of our own podcast guests, Madeline Elise, Maddie Mayo. One of my favorite episodes we've ever done. She has already impacted Ashlee.
Yep.
And Ashlee said some pretty amazing things about her being 27, 26, my age, but being so vulnerable and open about her upbringing and everything she's been through, that it inspired her. And you're 38 now?
Yeah.
And you were inspired to come on here and be vulnerable about your story while you were being a badass.
Definitely. To be that young and feel that comfortable being vulnerable just speaks volumes for the type of person she is. Yeah. And it did. It gave me enough courage to feel comfortable coming on and speaking about the tough parts of our life that are hard to talk about. And I'm being vulnerable and talking about things that most people don't know about me, but if I can talk about it and inspire even one person or help one person feel okay going through these tough times in their life, then it's worth it 100%.
Yeah, and that's what this platform is exactly for. So I appreciate you coming on and saying that. So we're going to dive a little deeper into your mom. So you probably didn't feel physical affection, mental, emotional, any affection starting out. How young did it start? When did you start sensing it?
As long as I can remember, that was my childhood. That was my relationship with my mom. And people close to me in my life would talk about how she was different when I was younger. And the older I got, she turned into this person that I knew. But I actually don't have very many childhood memories. I remember some of the tough situations and experiences with her. And I remember a lot of the good things with my dad. But the older I get, you learn that's what your body's doing to preserve itself. You're forgetting these things on purpose to help yourself make it through life.
And your dad was balancing out, and he was giving you love, support, all the things you would want from a parent. Mm-hmm. But your mom was pretty oblivious to it because she had her own goals. Would you describe her as a narcissist?
Yeah, she definitely was narcissistic. Was always about her and the things that we were doing to affect her life, and even from a young age. But it's hard when you're that young. You want a parent and friends in your life and other people around you who their parents are there and they seem loving and supportive and present. And it's easy to feel all these negative emotions within yourself because your parent isn't doing those things for you. And I think that was most of my childhood. My relationship with my mom, at least, was I wanted her to be a different type of parent. And she just that wasn't who she was. And I think the older I get, I realize that she's also fighting demons and had some childhood trauma and tough things in her life. And I'm sure that's who made her into the parent adult that she was throughout most of my childhood.
Yeah. You're finding many ways to take responsibility for your childhood, even though a lot of damage was done by her. You're still trying to not blame her for it. At the end of the day, you've made an amazing woman out of yourself today.
Thank you.
But it started with you at RadioShack, was one of your one of your conquering leadership positions, right? That's when you first got to test out yourself. How would you do out in the real world? That was your first big adult job.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
That was my first big girl job. Super nerdy. I loved video games my whole life. Coming back to the boy within me, all the Mario and Zelda and gaming. So RadioShack was a great first time experience for me, and it was retail. It was fast-paced, energetic. It was right when RadioShack was getting into selling cell phones, Sprint, I loved being goal focused, and that was one of the main things with RadioShack is they were focused on profits, which most of the profits came from selling cell phones. So I thrived in that environment and realized really quickly that I was goal oriented and could achieve a lot and was very passionate about things easily. So it made me very successful with RadioShack.
And prior to that, your notions of yourself was maybe not as capable, a lot of doubt, maybe some shamefulness rooting from childhood. What were some of your preconceived notions about yourself prior to finding yourself through that position?
Yeah, I was lacking confidence for sure. When you grow up in a traumatic environment like that, there's some deep-seated emotions that you don't even realize because you're young. We don't know a lot about ourselves when we're that age. And I was lacking confidence, and I lived in Dallas my whole life until I was 13. And then I left Dallas and moved to Paris, Texas when I was 13 to live with my dad. And coming out of the environment that I was with in my mother's home, and then coming to live with my dad full time, it was only me and my dad. And it was a complete 360 for my home life. Going to live with him and just trying to figure myself out. There's a part of you that is formed when you're growing up in the much younger ages that I developed when I was with my mom, and I didn't really understand until I came to live with my dad. And then trying to be in a household where I felt all of that closeness and love and affection that my dad was trying to give me. And he knew the environment that I faced with my mom, so he was trying to make up for that. But it's completely different going from one house to the next. So it was a learning curve for me, also learning to live with a parent that showed that type of attention and affection and feeling comfortable being loved and being okay with a parent that was there for you. It's hard on the other end too. You think you would just jump into it and feel so happy to be in that type of environment, which I was. My dad was instantly amazing, but it took a moment to grow and feel comfortable in that type of home life. So going into RadioShack and feeling the goal-oriented, fast-paced environment, I thrived in it because it was a little chaotic and crazy, and I could just throw my whole self into it. I worked a lot of hours and devoted a lot of time, which is the retail environment. So they saw me putting in hours and wanting to people please and be the number one in anything that was goal-focused. I thrived in that environment. So it made me successful really young.
And were you praised, and did you have words of affirmation and just like good, almost parenting through your work at RadioShack as well?
It wasn't as much as praise. It was those goal numbers. When you hit the goals at the end of the month, it got blasted to every RadioShack in the United States. And seeing yourself in the top 10 salespeople in the whole United States, man, that tugged on my heart a little bit. And I just wanted to keep doing it every month and be the top. And then when I wasn't number one, if I was number 3, I would put in 10 more hours a week to make sure I hit that number 1.
Interesting. So you were being shown love, but in a way that's not necessarily external or internal. It was done for you. And that's like the balance, like in childhood too. Like you had just the horribleness of the mom environment and then dad trying to give you some love and praise. And seeing a little bit of that in work probably made you feel at home because you had the balance of the chaos.
Yep.
And then you still had the internal competitiveness that was getting some praise, at least on a data sheet or on a chart, blasted throughout the nation.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of those things that kind of showed you, okay, this could be a good balance in your career path, right?
Yep.
Okay, so from RadioShack, where did you move yourself up to?
I was a manager at RadioShack and a corporate sales trainer for a multifamily company. Came into RadioShack. She broke her phone and needed a new cell phone, and I sold her a new cell phone. And she was so impressed by me that she recruited me on the spot to come work for her at this multifamily company.
And what position did she give you?
I started as a leasing agent. As a multifamily company, they managed A-class apartment complexes all over the United States. They were based in Ohio. I went to work as a leasing agent at a Class A apartment complex in Plano, and just excelled really quick. And again, those goal-oriented, numbers-focused, they were also a little chaotic and goal-oriented, and it just kept going from there. I just got better and could sell more and hit more higher end goals, going from selling cell phones or sales numbers in a retail environment to selling apartments and leasing apartments and renewals, which was the main focus there, and achieving those goals and being in the top 10 all over the nation again for a different company. I just excelled again, and then got promoted from leasing agent to property manager. I started managing properties around Plano, and their expectation was that property managers were also leasing agents. So you were expected to hit some pretty steep sales goals while you were also managing properties. And I could do both.
Yeah, those are two different jobs. But,
yeah.
Okay. So you were not only thriving in chaos, you were given two different types of chaos to completely manage.
Yeah, but I learned the operations side, and I loved it. Like managing a property, getting to know the engineering side and repair and maintenance. And it went back to my childhood where I was watching my dad put together these motors, and then getting to learn how these maintenance techs are repairing AC units, or how plumbing works or electrical works. And it gave me the opportunity to be a hands-on property manager and learning the operations side. I loved it also. So I loved being able to go into the office and sell and help my leasing agents close a deal. And I started getting rewarded by helping my team and watching my team hit those numbers. And then watching my entire property, a group of 6 or 8 people, all achieve their goals. And then I'm managing a top property around the world, was just a whole new level of achievement.
It's a massive level of responsibility that you just accomplished at a large scale, right? Throughout that, you felt some leadership qualities developing, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
Would you say we're throwing in childhood into her story a lot, and it's not just to keep the theme of this podcast, it's reality. Like, these are the actual things we use on our work, on our relationships, on everything. We just don't talk about it. That was one of the most exciting things when Ashlee and I were having dinner, is making sure that is why we are doing this episode itself, to be vulnerable about your childhood and bring it all in, because it literally shapes almost everything you do, because it's such a big balance going on in your subconscious head of how you're going to act out in the real world. Would you say you were a peacekeeper at home sometimes?
Definitely.
Yeah. Figured.
Yeah. When you're living with a parent that is that chaotic and unpredictable, I, very young, wanted to predict the mood that my mom was going to be in and try and do everything that I could to keep it from happening. The bad mood, the bad experience. And you really learn to read people when you're doing that. But when you're so young, you don't realize that no matter what you do, you can't stop the chaos from coming from that parent. It's just their life and what's going on, and you're just caught in the middle of it. But it taught me to read people very young, and I did anything I could to people please and do everything she expected and be the type of kid that she thought I should be to please her.
Even though it wasn't your job, like you realized it wasn't your job, that peacekeeper skill set, you were never paid for or actually even allowed to execute on it. Now it's in your adulthood.
Yeah.
And you're getting paid 6 figures plus. We don't have to expose your salary, but it's in that range somewhere. It is a very rewarding skill set from your childhood. And I bring that up just to show a lot of the times we can just go the other way and feel bad for ourselves, be in that victimhood mentality. You'll never be perfect. You'll never fully heal. We talked about that earlier at dinner. Like, who fully heals? Not even therapists and counselors that we've encountered personally. They're not even fully healed. But those skill sets that you have through that trauma and victimization, you can use for 6-figure salaries and meeting Red Bull teams and having Steve Aoki out there, because you can use that to reward yourself almost in a way, right?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to get caught up in the childhood trauma and the poor me, or I was a victim. I was a child. I had no idea what was going on. There's nothing I could do to go back and change my childhood, but I can learn from it. I can focus on the good qualities I got from my mom. It was not all bad. I don't want it to seem that way. She gave me my passionate side and made me a little fiery, which has been very good in my career. I couldn't be a successful executive without it. But it's easy to focus on that childhood and see your life tailspin into negativity. And as I've gotten older and really reflected on my childhood and tried to heal, she passed away in 2015. And after that, I really worked hard to try and heal and not hold on to those negative emotions and be a better person. Because overall, I think she did want me to be successful and she wanted me to be a good person and thrive in life. I can't change it. No matter what I do, I can't change my childhood. So if I focus on learning what it taught me, then I can be more successful in my life now and not hold on to the toxic feelings, because nothing good comes from those.
You know what's funny? All of that is so accurate, but it's not like we had that blueprint while we were doing it. It's always like after you experience it and actually do it, then you're like, oh, that's exactly what I was doing, instead of choosing to be a victim and going the other way and not making any money, not making anything out of your life to support yourself and others and make an impact. Now you just completely impact yourself, right? If you use that trauma to impact yourself only, it dives in further, or you can affect literally hundreds of thousands of people, because even that Stevie Aoki concert did affect people. It's like even managing stuff like that. It shows like the level of great impact you can have through your childhood, or the killing effect where you can take a soul away from the earth.
Definitely.
Those are the choices we make. Now, the harder one is something like I even said on this podcast, like I'm looking for my future ex-wife, you know. No. But stuff like that. So relationships in your life. And by the way, she's definitely engaged, so she's good.
Yes.
So no one DM her. Oh, I never saw your ring. That is massive. Okay.
Man, he nailed the proposal too. We have to talk about it.
How did he nail the proposal? Actually, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So we've been dating 6 years.
I met them while they were dating.
Yeah. So he took me to Vegas under the falsehood of a friend's birthday, and our friends were with us. And so I thought I was going to dinner at the Bellagio for her birthday dinner. We had a super nice dinner at Prime Steakhouse, got all dressed up. He bought me my first pair of red bottoms to wear to dinner. They were stellar, like super hot. But I thought it was just a present because I'm amazing and he wants to buy me all the nice things. So first pair of red bottoms, I was looking hot. We went to dinner for a friend's birthday, got through with dinner, and my friend said, I've never seen the fountain show in front of the Bellagio. So I was like, yeah, let's go watch it. If you've ever been to the Bellagio, you know that the best view is closer to the Bellagio off of the Strip. They have this big elevated platform where you can actually look down on the fountains and watch from the Bellagio facing Las Vegas Boulevard. So I was like, no, we need to watch it up here. It's way better. And they were like, no, we're going to the street. You know, me and we talked about this earlier, my dominant aggressiveness. Yes. I was like, no, this is better. And so I lost. Luckily, they overpowered me and just left without me. So I had to follow them. And we walk all the way through the Bellagio. We go down to the street. We get to watch the fountain show. And super cool. It finishes and everyone was like, okay, what do we do now? I was like, I don't know. We watched the show. Like, what's next? So we were just standing there. We turn around. A flash mob breaks out in front of Bellagio in the fountains. Seems completely natural. So we're standing there, huge group. There's hundreds of people standing on the sidewalk in front of the Bellagio. We watched this awesome flash mob. They were really good. And they dance. It's maybe 5 minutes. And they get done. They start playing this song, one of my favorite songs by GTA. And I look at my partner, not fiance yet, fiance now. And I was like, oh my gosh, you hear this song? I love this song. It's my favorite song. And he was like, man, what a coincidence. So then one of the dancers runs over and grabs him And anybody who knows him, he loves to dance. He is such a good dancer, total showboat. Goes out. I was like, this is going to be amazing. He's about to dance in front of hundreds of people. It's going to be so good. So takes him out in the middle. Then one of the dancers runs over and grabs me. Look, I do not dance. And I'm wearing these huge, like 8-inch red bottom Louboutins, this little tiny black dress. I was like, no, I'm not going. And she was like, you're going. She drags me in the middle of this flash mob, hundreds of people. He gets down on one knee, proposes. Oof. It was amazing. Yeah, he nailed it.
The roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God. I didn't know this story.
Yeah. Yeah. Good story. He hired a videographer, like the videos on YouTube. It's a whole thing. It was awesome.
Goes without saying he loves you.
Yeah, he does love me very much.
And to give Brendan's character a little bit, he's not that fucking extroverted, you know?
No, he's not.
This does not sound like any of his personalities. Like he's right at that moment in the proposal. He's being creative, pulling out all the stops, being extroverted, mixing your emotions in, having your friends guide you, because sometimes they have to put you in your place because you're dominant, right?
I know.
And speaking of putting you in your place, you finally have the man that actually inspired the submissive within you, but still making you feel respected, loved, admired, very balanced feeling. But you were always looking for someone that would inspire some submissive in you.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by putting you in your place. Because a lot of women, like in your position, like high career, high energy, high dominance, they'll sometimes say, I just want a man to put me in my place. To clarify, it does not mean physically, violently,
No.
to disrespect the shit out of them and verbally be abusive and be a narcissist. Here's what she actually means by it.
Yeah, no, not at all. It goes down to respect. And I'm dominant, and I have a dominant personality and high energy and stubborn and pretty adamant in most topics. I feel very confident that I'm right. And it can be overbearing sometimes. And to find someone who can be my partner in life and be the yin to my yang it's pretty difficult. If you think about, we talked about this at dinner. If you think about, I'm in my 30s. I don't want children. And I love cars. I love gaming. I have a very high functioning job, but also a successful career. And I'm dominant. To find someone who can be a partner in life and you can find respects you and wants to be there for you and support you, but is also not afraid to stand up to you when necessary to be that partner in your life is almost impossible.
Out of all the things that were already impossible to be compatible with you for, that's got to be such a lonely feeling. And then finding that person that also not only matches you on the compatibility, but to also help you balance out almost some of the trauma within you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because a lot of the characteristics you're describing in your external world, like career and stuff, where you are female dominating a career, you have to be assertive. You have to be able to put other people in their place. You have to be the person doing all the dominating because it's a power position at the end of the day. You're managing many people and they need to almost feel that respect for you. That's one of the ways to do it. But you're looking to also turn that off when it comes to your partner. It has not worked for pretty much your entire life up until you met this man, right?
Yeah.
What was your relationships like before that?
Yeah, I was married. I was in a relationship for almost 10 years and got married very young.
How young?
22. You're just a different person when you're that age. Yeah. You don't even know what life is yet. And you're coming out of school and trying to figure out your career. And going back to my childhood trauma, it played a big part who I was, even though I moved in with my dad when I was 13. That's some deep-rooted trauma, and you have to be a professional to work through that. And I didn't really have that at that age. I still today haven't necessarily worked through all the trauma. And when you're that young, I personally was looking for comfort. And I was in a relationship with someone I knew in middle school. He was just really great dude, overall really great guy, and gave me that comfort. But we were together almost 10 years, and I grew into my skin, started figuring out who I was and becoming more confident. and working through some of that childhood trauma and realizing that I wanted to grow and develop and be able to focus on a career. And he was a little more stagnant and just okay being where he was in life and not wanting to be more or get more out of life.
What year into your relationship would you say it started going from wanting comfort to wanting self-growth?
Probably 5 years in. Yeah, it was a good 5 years. I started traveling a lot for work. I became a corporate trainer. I was traveling 48 to 50 weeks a year, multiple cities a week. I was living out of a hotel and going back to the chaotic, high functioning side of my brain. I needed that and thrived and loved it. But when you have that type of person at home, you can't be in a marriage and live like that. I wasn't a wife to him, and he wanted a wife.
And you wanted a
I
husband.
wanted my career. I wanted...
Before that, you wanted the husband, you wanted the comfort.
Oh, yeah.
Those
prior.
5 years were compatible, and then life started changing.
Yeah, so that job, traveling and getting to see all of these other parts of the United States and different personalities and different people that I was working with, I got to really see that there's a lot more to life than what I was experiencing, and I wanted more of it. And that's where we started to grow apart, is I wanted more and my ambition became higher, and I was okay staying away from home for weeks and weeks at a time because it was excelling my career, and I was hitting those goals and getting the praise from all of the leadership in my company and really helping develop the company at a very high level because they were getting to see multiple properties and teams achieving goals that they weren't seeing before I took this position. So it just tugged on those heartstrings a little bit more, where I was seeing myself achieving these goals through a lot of people at a much higher level. And I wanted more of it. And I wanted to keep doing well and getting that praise and hitting those goals and just being more ambitious for the person I was developing and becoming in my career. And being with a partner who didn't want that. He wanted me at home. He didn't want me to travel at all. And he wanted a wife. Nothing against him at all. But we grew apart and became very different people. And we ended the marriage very well. We were still cordial, and we ended it in the best way possible.
A lot of people would be scared to admit that they changed halfway through a 10-year relationship, let alone admitting even some of their work desires was getting praise and growing. What makes you comfortable in admitting these things?
Why not? It's a part of my life, and I don't feel like I need to hide it from anyone. It made me who I am, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm glad for who I am today, and even though I went through some trivial experiences and some tough times in my life and lost someone who was very special to me, I loved him dearly. He was a huge part of majority of my life. It's part of who I am, and I'm very comfortable saying that I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in life.
Yeah, and a lot of people would feel almost shameful saying those things, right? But it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth that's made you who you are today. And we were talking something about this on dinner. It's like your dad inspired this, which was communicate, be honest, have integrity, but also have fun.
Yeah. My dad, he's all about life is short. Live it to the fullest, enjoy it, have fun. If anything's holding you back from having fun, it's not right. Life's an adventure, and hearing him support me in that way, it made me feel comfortable being okay ending my marriage and knowing that we just grew apart and it wasn't right for me, and there was a lot more to life that I really wanted. And he gave me that support to make that tough decision. And it was really hard. Ending a 10-year relationship with someone you have known most of your life and starting life over is very difficult. But also having a father that can support you and just comfort you in that tough time made all the difference in the world.
And no one would want to do that in their early 30s or late 20s to start over of a 10-year marriage relationship. no one would want to do that. It was a blessing that your dad made sure you knew about those qualities. Have fun, communicate, be honest, have integrity, right?
Yep.
It's not impossible to also have those things within you if it's not already within you through your parents, right? Like, I'm working on those things right now, and my life has become better of it. The conversation we had earlier, we won't go into details, but the conversation we had earlier, that was a great reminder for me.
Yeah.
To keep all those things going, because at the end of the day, if you don't follow that path that your dad instilled in you, it builds a lot of resentment. And decades of your life go by with the wrong person, wrong career, wrong outlook on life. You escape that matrix.
I like to think I have, definitely. But I think it's easy to fall into the pressures of society. And our parents, their generation was, you get married, you have kids, the husband provides, the woman stays home, right? But my generation, millennials, we put a halt to that mindset, and we wanted to be more, and we don't have to be at home and be wives, and we could be big successful executives. And my dad really empowered me to feel comfortable achieving and being independent and being on my own, which, a lot of people my age, I don't think they even still today have realized that it's not the expectation of society that needs to form your life. It's what makes you happy and where you truly feel joy and happiness. Those are the things you need to focus on. And those are the things that you need to put all your energy into, and just keep down that path and enjoy life and go on adventures and do all the things. The world is massive, and we get really caught up in our comfort zone, because there's a sense of vulnerability when you travel and do things that you're not comfortable with. But it's so fun when you get out and do it. Even though it's a little uncomfortable, it could be a lot of fun, and it's always an adventure. And if you focus on, the mindset when you're doing these things and having a positive mindset. And I told you earlier, one of my favorite quotes that I remind myself often is, your focus becomes your reality. And when you're doing these things, whether it's happiness and adventure and traveling to a new country or hitting a really tough goal at work, it's whatever you focus on is exactly the way you're going to feel.
You didn't really know that this would be your path, right? In life,
No.
career-wise, at all. Like, none of these. RadioShack, property management, Harwood, Red Bull, all these things.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what they want to do with their lives. Millennials especially, right? For the first time in our lives, we have the option, including females, right? It wasn't that long ago where that became a reality. It wasn't that long ago where it became a focus from survival to relationships, to attachment styles, to therapy, all these things that we talk about now. I shouldn't say there's no guidebooks, there's literally millions, but it's such a new concept, right?
Yeah.
This is why you're finding your passions, you're finding your happiness through some careers that are six-figure worthy in rewards, right? Financial. You can be an adult. You can keep adulting and work through the trauma and find some stuff you love to do without knowing you ever loved doing it, right?
Yeah.
You stumbled on those. I think that's one of the most inspiring things about this talk too, is you didn't have a direction. Not really. But you figured it out just because you took chances. Like, even the promotion from RadioShack to being a leasing agent and then property manager, with some girl just saw you at a shop dominating and she was just inspired by that, and you took the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many people I know have had this clear path laid out for them by their parents and these expectations. And most of the time, it's not what makes them happy or what brings them joy, or even a career that they like going to every day. And let's be honest, even still today, we spend more time at work than we spend at home. So where you work is important, and the people you surround yourself is really important. And I'm really happy that I didn't have a path and it turned into what it did today.
What a beautiful quote. You're really happy you had no idea what you're going to do with your life. Every fucking millennial, even whatever other generations after, they need to know this, including myself. Like, we're about 10 years apart. It's so important to know that. I'm recently finding out, like, your job is not your identity. Who knew? That's
Right.
the thing, right? But take those chances. Go work hard. Go explore different opportunities. Like, be an adult. It's actually a good thing.
Yes.
Be an adult, and it takes you on such a crazy journey that you also meet people that you never thought you meet. You have your friend circle out of it.
Absolutely.
You have a beautiful surrounding environment. While I'm hanging out with her today doing dinner and checking out all the properties, she's taking work calls, she's busy, but she's also being affected with her entire life with food and people saying hi to her. She knew everyone's name at every single place we went to because there's multiple buildings in Uptown and we're walking through them and she's saying hi to everyone. That's her life. Like, that's her surroundings. And it all came because she had no idea what she wanted to do with her life. But
That's
she
right.
kept pushing on. You know?
That's right. Look, as a leader, as a successful leader, your people make or break you. And I strive to really get to know my people and make them feel good at work. And it's really important. And I think it's been a big part of my success is it's the people, the porters that are walking around cleaning the trash outside of the building. They're the most important people that work for me because they pick up the trash. That's the first impression with my tenants who pay the rent, who make me have a paycheck. But those people are picking up the trash, and without them, I can't be successful. So I have a team of about 50, and every one of them are so important to me. And I always try to make sure that I say hi to them and ask them how they're doing and if they need anything. And I really think that's what's made me the most successful in my career is surrounding myself with a good team and making my team know that they're important and that we're a team and we'll work together, and I can't do it without them.
Unless you're around someone like this, you would think that is 100% like a corporate statement that you printed out and is looking at a teleprompter and saying, and that's exactly what I would assume. Like, I saw you in a suit today. I'm like, oh shit, who's this person? You know? Like, my immediate judgment goes off, but all that trauma came into you being a good person to everyone else. And that's one of the beautiful things about how we spent our time today. I can't find anything about you on this level through LinkedIn or your social media.
Yeah.
But getting to experience you today in that form. And thank you, by the way. It was all voluntarily. Like, she invited me out for all those things, including a very expensive dinner. All of that let me experience you for who you are in life, because more of your focused hours are at work.
Yeah.
You get some limited hours with now your fiance. And that's your beautiful life. Even the friends you welcome into your life, you're also pretty selective about that, right?
Definitely.
Were you always selective about who's in your circle? Or when did that start, and how have you narrowed it down to where it's a good balance?
No, I think especially through school, early 20s, it was attention seeking. It's whoever I could find that was a friend that was giving me the attention at the time, and that's where I just migrated around because I moved cities in high school. I was a freshman moving to Paris, Texas, and Paris, Texas is a really small town. So almost everybody that I started high school with all grew up together. So going into that environment at 13 was hard. So at that point, it was just like, okay, how can I make friends and who's going to talk to me? And I played sports, luckily. So I played soccer as a freshman, and I learned to make friends through athletics and those type of things. And I have a really good friend. He was my first friend that I ever met when I moved to Paris. His name's Justin. And I still talk to him today. And he's the only person I still talk to from when I was in high school. Really good friend, really good guy. I'm, the godparent to his children. I love his wife to death. But all the other relationships I had in school were just no substance at all, right? It's like whoever is going to give you the attention, or we're going to go hang out with this time, and it's just not good for you. And then early 20s, I became friends with everyone that my husband was friends with because I moved back to Dallas at that time. And they didn't really have a lot of substance either. And I think that's another reason that I really focused on my career, is that's where my brain would really work, and I would get all those dopamine hits because I wasn't really getting it from a friend group. So once I got a divorce, I was 30, and I had been doing CrossFit for about 3 years, and I joined a CrossFit gym in Addison. I think that's the moment at 30 where I really found some good, genuine friends that there was some actual substance. I liked being around them. They made me better. I grew and developed as a person, and just, I got a lot out of those friendships that I had never got before. I didn't have to focus on people pleasing to fit in or for them to want to hang out with me. And I'm still friends with them now. I met a really great group of friends through CrossFit, and it was great.
That's one of those things that expose, like, even your marriage, it was comfort zone for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Friends, it was almost finding a way for others to parent you in a way, for the fun, for the comfort, for the validation. That's, again, it's not just the theme of the podcast, it's reality.
Yeah.
We're just always looking to be parented after we haven't been parented. That's usually the commonality between most human beings in the modern world, because it's no longer about reproduction and DNA and survival, right? You don't want to have kids, right?
No kids.
Yeah. So DNA,
my whole life, no kids. I've always said no kids. And my whole life, everybody was like, oh, you'll change your mind and just wait till you get older and it'll happen and you'll want to have kids. And you were put on this earth to have kids and all of the things. And I got news for all you people that told me that I still don't want kids.
Yeah, no amount of therapy, self-growth, nothing has changed. That's a very important boundary. You're establishing that boundary a long time ago. Did you ever have any relationships where that was a question for the partner, that maybe you felt that they did want to change that and did want to have kids?
Yeah, that was a big turning point in my marriage. He had a kid. His son was 3 months old when we started dating. And so I was a stepmom the whole time I was with him. And our marriage started to get rocky, and I was traveling a lot. And from the very beginning, I don't want to have kids. And there came a point in our marriage where he was like, no, we need to have kids, and I want to have kids, and we should have a family. And I really think it was him reaching to bring me back home. And you'll be home if you have a kid, and be a wife and be that person that he wanted. But I was going in the complete opposite direction. And I just 100% did not want to have a kid.
What made you not want to have a kid from the beginning of knowing you didn't want to have kids?
I don't know. I've never wanted them. Selfishness is the first thing that comes to mind. I love to have fun and adventure, and just when I want to do something, I want to be able to do it, and I don't want anyone to hold me back. And when you have a kid, you really have to give all of that up. You need to be willing to devote at least the next 21 years to being a parent. If you choose to have kids, that kid is depending on you, and you affect the rest of their life. So I feel it's your obligation as a parent to be ready to devote that when you choose to have children. And I never got to a point where I wanted to fully devote myself to raising a human.
Very honest answer, and I think that's extremely fair. And a lot of men, including me just a couple months ago, would have been like, nope, you're wrong. And like, eventually you'll change your mind. Like, it's such a common mindset, right?
It is, yeah.
But as you've even pointed out during our dinner, that's just a societal conditioning too.
Yep.
It's not necessarily that it's even my thoughts or the other men's. It's just a societal condition. That's all we've known. It's all very recent. Like, all the problems in our modern world are because we no longer have to focus on DNA taking over us and reproducing and surviving, at least not to that scale.
Yeah.
So you made a great point. Now that we don't have to focus on these things, we can focus on life. And that's what you're choosing, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want out of life? It's a big open
adventure.
Question. Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. I want to thrive, and I want to adventure and see the world and focus on experiences, good or bad. I want to be able to say that I lived life and experienced all the adventures with all the people. And right now I'm very passionate about traveling, and I love meeting strangers and going to talk to locals and seeing how people live in other countries. And it's just, I'm shocked every time. It's just eye-opening to see how happy other countries are compared to the stresses I feel like we have here in America.
A lot of people that have that mindset of wanting the most out of life, traveling, exploring, they also naturally come with, we don't need anyone. We want to be independent, make everything happen, and no one should hold me back. I can be single forever. Were you a part of that?
Get out of my head, Justin. No, look. Yeah, I still feel that way. I'm independent. And I think it goes back to my trauma, my childhood trauma, and just being on my own as a child and secluded and knowing that I can be at peace when I'm alone and feeling like being around other people brings additional stress and anxiety. It does for me. I am high functioning anxious. And when I'm alone, I don't experience that. My brain gets to rest because I'm not expected to do anything or people please or have a conversation about where we're going to eat dinner or any of these other things that we naturally do when we're with another person. It's easier when you're alone.
Yeah. No one's impeding on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look, that's the easy way out.
Exactly.
A lot of joy comes from a good
way.
Partner. And it's very easy for me to get into the mindset of it would be easier if I'm alone. But I get a lot of joy from my partner, and we do a lot of things together, and we adventure and drive cars and play video games, and I get a lot of joy from that. But when you get the extra stress and anxiety of being in a household or sharing a life with another person, it's easy to focus on the independence. But I honestly don't think I would be completely happy being independent and single for the rest of my life. I really like enjoying life and adventuring with another person that adventures the same way that I do.
It's a hard find, and that makes it also easier to be dominant in your holding your identity of saying I'm independent. Yeah. It's fine. I don't need anyone. Traveling the world, I'd rather do it by myself. If someone's right for me, they'll be right for me. But then you're also like emotionally distant and emotionally unavailable, right?
Yeah, the attachment style.
Yeah. Okay, so anyone that knows attachment styles, her and I are very similar on this. It's fearful avoidant, right? Do you want to tell them what that is?
Yeah, it's the worst of all attachment styles, unfortunately. It's a phased attachment style, and it depends on the specific relationship or person that you're with. And at times when you are with a person that is unpredictable or emotional or moody, you get really anxious because you don't know what to expect with that person and you want peace. But then when it blows up or you get to the point where they're not good to be around or you can't do anything to remedy the mood or the tough situation, like even just communicating something that you don't want to talk about, you become avoidant.
Yeah. If they're too needy or something, it's not even that they're needy. It's like now they're giving you all the attention and everything you want, and now that makes you avoidant because what's about to go wrong, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always at arm's length because of what comes when they reject you or don't want to be with you anymore or want distance. You're not secure in the attachment style, so you fear rejection. But I'm working really hard to become more secure in my attachment style. So I think it's really important for people to remember, just because you're a certain attachment style now doesn't mean you're that attachment style forever. You can work on yourself and really grow and become confident and secure. So I'm focusing really hard to realize that when my partner needs space, I need to understand that space is a part of his attachment style, and that's how he recharges. And sometimes that space is the best thing for him, and no harm's going to come to me in that moment. But him as my partner, he needs to understand my attachment style and the things that make me vulnerable. So that's the point that we're really at in our relationship, is learning how the other reacts to certain situations and helping them feel secure when those things happen. And even to the point where it's like, he had a tough day and just doesn't want to talk about it and needs a minute. My attachment style is, let me make you happy. And what do you need? And I'll do all the things. And let's just bring all this happiness. And it's overwhelming for him when he just wants to be left alone. But he's learned that if he could just look at me and say, look, I've had a tough day. If you could just give me an hour to go into the office, I'm going to game, recharge. Let's talk in an hour. That sets the tone for my expectation. So I know what to expect. It gets rid of that anxiety for me. But then also it holds him accountable to, he can't just leave me hanging, dangling for days. He has an hour to come back and us talk about it. And that was a huge stepping stone in our relationship. And it came down to really understanding where we were in our attachment style and the other person's attachment style, and communicating about what we needed to feel secure in our relationship.
Thank you for sharing that, because a lot of I've done so much YouTube search on this. None of them will usually come with a good example like this, where you and your partner are learning about each other's styles, adjusting to it, holding each other accountable, and putting it into action.
Yeah.
He's your fiance now.
We have to.
Yeah. You guys are making that work. And you also said you want to get to security.
Yes.
So even though you guys are having the expectation, like, we're working on this together, we're going to make this work, I'll learn your style, you learn my style, and we'll work on it. But we'll also work on getting better ourselves, so that way we don't even need to have responses ready.
Yeah, yeah. And I think overall a very general statement is when you're bettering yourself for yourself, nobody else, the people that were meant for you will be drawn to you. But it's people like me, you, people pleasers, we forget that. And we're so focused on being someone else for other people. And as soon as I started focusing on improving myself and really growing and developing the person I was and being more secure in all relationships, I attracted much better people.
You led your own life, and it naturally attracted all the good around you.
Yeah.
You said your dad also taught you something that related to you having a good dating life before Brendan, which was have integrity, be honest, communicate, but also have fun with your life. If someone's not for you, that doesn't mean you can't have fun in life either. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. It goes back to the point we made earlier about society puts these pressures on you where you get married really young, you have kids, you get married, and you stay in this relationship. And my dad tried really hard to make sure that I knew that every relationship wasn't a permanent forever, I'm going to marry that person relationship. We have people that we interact with in life and have relationships or flings or etc. But not everybody's permanent. And it's okay to have people in your life and have fun and adventure and them not be there forever. You don't have to get into a relationship and start dating someone thinking that this person's not perfect and they're not my forever partner and I have to move on. Unless your goal at the moment is to get married, have kids, build a life. Some people, that is their goal, and that's what they want out of life, and that's great. But I think he saw in me really young that I was a little wild and like him. He really empowered me to be okay not being in a relationship and having fun and knowing that not every person is meant to be there forever. Hearing
this from what I view as a successful woman means a lot, because for any recovering fuck up, you tend to judge yourself a lot on when it comes to being a good person, being a good man. So when it comes to the dating world, are you actually dating just to sleep around, or are you dating it with the intentions of finding your wife? For me, and I shouldn't even say a lot of men, just even for me personally, so I'll be as honest as I can about that. It's a tough view, is whether you stay to one integrity of you don't sleep around, you don't do anything, you don't have hookups, and you just look for your wife and you just keep moving on. But as you said, that's not always the full picture, right? You're looking to expand your life as you go. You're looking for those partners that fit for your periods of life, and we're never done growing, right?
Never.
There's no permanency. I think it's just true. Like, you're right. It was a societal conditioning, because right now, that is not all we're looking for as a husband or a wife. That is not the only thing we're looking for in life. It's expansion in so many ways. And that was a really peaceful thing to hear from you during dinner, and even now, is if you find someone that you click with, you guys are great, but there's a little bit of lack of compatibility. It doesn't mean throw the whole thing out the window because you only have to get married and that's the only goal.
Right.
So I couldn't differentiate that a couple hours ago. So just something to have in my mind.
Definitely. And even though they're not a permanent relationship or a future wife or a future husband or 100% compatible, or they check all 10 boxes in your list, you could still learn from that experience in that relationship. And they may only check one box, but they're super fun, and they could teach you something about yourself because you've never given someone that only checked one box an opportunity to get to know you or have experience or adventures with. And that's okay. If we just put ourselves in a box where we're only spending time with people that check all the boxes, or someone that I am definitely going to marry, that really holds us back if you think about it.
It's a great point, because it's going to sound flagrant and shit, but she is not a bottle popping downtown slut.
No, not even close.
And most of our friends that would encourage bad decisions, yeah, go have fun, are usually that. So that's why you don't want to hear, I don't want to fucking hear it, you know? But the way you're saying it is, okay, so those compatibility factors, like we don't know what we're looking for at all times anyway, but we have a good idea. When there is some compatibility and they might not be the person, you're saying just be honest about that.
Absolutely.
To have that hard conversation. You're literally giving an option to both of you. Should we just continue casually dating, openly dating, and we see where it goes, which is what dating is meant for anyway. Yeah. You're encouraging that. But you're not, again, a bottle popping whole slut. I mean, just go fuck everyone. It's not that. So this is another way of saying, yeah, just have fun with your life.
Have fun. Enjoy life. Life's short. And I think as long as you're upfront and honest with that other person on your intentions, it's completely okay. And look, if they're not okay with it, it's not going to happen anyways. And if they're not completely honest with you, they're not the right person anyways. Yeah, for that time in your life. It works both ways, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And even on the guy's end, I'll use my example. I'll just go and be vulnerable about it. That would not have worked out unless I knew that I am able to establish my own boundaries and my own feelings. Since I am looking for the wife, I don't want it to be a situation where I'm sleeping around. And like this is, I know what I'm looking for. At the end of the day, after having fun, having intimacy, I'm still looking for something somewhat serious, right? Yeah. But also knowing those boundaries within yourself and respecting yourself at the same time, but then communicating that with the other person, there could be a marriage of sorts on that. Okay. Thank you for opening that up for me. So on a personal note, that's been it's been nice to hear. However it gets applied, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Thanks to your dad for it. Okay. Routine. You are like me where routine wasn't a part of our life. So routine wise, that's something like, the more we live in chaos, right? The busier we are, the less anxious we are, the less mental breakdowns we have. It's not necessarily the best cure, but you found that routine. You found that routine helps within that chaos management also.
Yeah, routine helps me so much. I was very unhealthy in my 20s. And 2015, I just decided I was going to get it together. You know, I was an athlete my whole life growing up, fit, healthy, worked out. But when you're that age, you don't have to work as hard at it. So I got in my 20s and got complacent, traveled a lot for work, became unhappy in a marriage, and you just get unhealthy without routine. I was very overweight, very unhealthy, did not feel good, really started feeling bad overall. And that's just not who I am. I really realized that I wanted to go back to who I was, happy, energetic, bubbly. So I decided to just go all in like I do. And I decided to try CrossFit. I started a paleo diet, lifestyle. And I went hard. I worked out 6 days a week, tracked all my food, like super strict with macros, full paleo diet, would not cheat at all, no alcohol, just went all in. I lost 50 pounds in 6 months, gained a lot of muscle, and just saw a complete 360 in my mental state and felt better and really became overall a better person. Even in my career, I was much sharper and confident and all of the good things that come with that level of confidence. I felt very quickly and loved it. So I held on to it, and that was my life until March of 22. So what was that? 7 years. 7 years I went hard, worked out 6 days a week, full paleo, really strict, was in great shape, and you felt the best of my life. Yeah. And it made my mental health so much better. It really did. And I think food has a lot to do with our mental health. And I don't think we pay enough attention to it. When you're eating good and low sugar, low alcohol intake, it affects our brain. It really does. And I felt it made me feel so much better overall. But I got into a really bad car wreck in March of 22 and had a really bad spinal injury, and it knocked my whole routine for a loop.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that, I'm sure, threw you for a big reset from finally finding routine in your life. You said for about 7 years, you were at your prime, you would say, almost. Yep. And that reset probably scared the living shit out of you. That's what happens to me every time I go on a routine and then I'm taken out of it, whether it's by choice or circumstance. I'm terrified.
Yeah, it is. It's terrifying because there's so much security in that routine. Yeah. And you almost lose that security blanket. And being super unhealthy and overweight previously came all the extra anxiety.
Yeah, you were overweight at a certain point.
Yes.
How long was that? Yeah, you said food was one of your comforts.
Food was one of my comforts. And I still love food, as you saw tonight.
You were well behaved, though.
Thanks.
I was not.
Food makes me happy. I love food so much. And when you're not in a good place and you're not disciplined and I'm going through a tough phase of my life, I found a lot of comfort in food, and my genetics showed me real quick what happens when I do that. I'm short. I'm 5'4". I was over 200 pounds and did not feel good. So
how long were you teetering towards getting overweight and food being your comfort?
Man, I would say it started probably 23, 24. Mm. So a couple years after I got married, and it just didn't stop. It was just a slow progression over the next 8 years where I just gained weight.
Makes sense. So
became more stagnant.
Yeah, you were comfortable in your relationship because you had the comfort. And then it wasn't that comfortable. You were debating things, but you were looking for an outlet to balance out your emotions, which food is a good one for that.
Yeah.
But it went on for a decade. A good portion of your adult life, you were overweight and out of control when it came to health.
Yep.
And again, these are the things that are very inspiring because the person sitting here, I'm probably at that age where you were doing all those things, and you're 10 years ahead of me showing what else is possible. And you're still young as shit. Life is just beginning. Those are the most inspiring things ever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you want to be healthy, you can be healthy. It takes discipline, and I think you need to just start small. Focus on small goals until it becomes a part of your life, and then increase those goals. It's really easy to focus on a big overall goal, which is I want to lose 50 pounds or I want to have a 6-pack. When you think about it that way, it feels unachievable. So it's really easy to get out of the routine or for the routine not even to happen. So that's when you see the January gym influx. It's when I hate going to the gym the most because it's people who just don't normally work out, and all of the people rush into the gym in January because it's like new year, new me, I'm going to be better. but they're thinking about it in a huge goal, right? I'm going to lose 50 pounds, or I'm going to go to the gym every day for the whole year. Those become unachievable, so it's harder to hold yourself accountable. So it's just start really small. It's like, this week I'm going to go to the gym 3 times. Okay, I went to the gym 3 times. Next week I'm going to go to the gym 3 times again. Do that for a month. So for a month, I went to the gym 3 times. Okay, what happens when I go 4 times a month? And then when you start small, it becomes a lot more achievable. And then before it's just a part of your life.
Yeah. It's just like anything else in life. I want to make $1 million this year. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Not happening.
Stay out of the gym in January and stop trying to make $1 million and scamming everyone. Like,
Exactly.
simple as that. Stop it. Stop
Exactly.
it. This is childhood trauma for you.
Look, I want everybody to be healthy and go to the gym and work out and feel good, but you don't have to wait till January.
Exactly. Yeah. So just like everything else in life, like, just be patient. Work through your trauma. Attack it from all angles.
Yeah,
And
be
then
patient.
execute. Yeah. And just keep being an adult. Right.
Yeah, adulting's hard.
Yeah.
Look,
there's
adulting
beauty.
is hard.
And you had some questions from your friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's do that.
First question is, what do you feel the most passionate about in this phase of your life? And what do you do to nurture that passion? So right now I am very passionate about travel. I started going to Europe, different countries for the past 3 years, and every year I have a goal to visit a new country. I love it so much. I'm working hard and making sure that I prioritize going to a new country every year and just seeing something new and exploring and adventuring, and don't plan the whole trip. That's one of the key things. People get so caught up in, oh, I'm going to Europe for 10 days and every day I'm going to plan all of these things. And the most fun I've had on any of my trips were the days where I had nothing planned and just walked around and talked to the locals and asked them, where's your favorite place to eat? Or if you're taking your family out to eat, where do you go to eat? And I've got to see a whole different side of a city that I never knew existed, because we really easily get caught up in our phones and what's TikTok? Like, if I look up Positano, where's everybody going on TikTok? But those are the places that everybody else is going, and they're not really authentic to that country. So I'm really passionate about exploring and adventuring new countries. Next question. This is a good one. You'll appreciate this one. Would you rather get to drive your dream car for a day or hang out with your favorite DJ for a day? That is such a hard question.
Yeah. And I think, like, at this point in my life, I know the answer. What's yours?
Mine is hang out with my favorite DJ for the day, because look, I'm going to own my dream car very soon.
Exactly. Life can change in that answer so much. Even traveling for you, you have a travel buddy.
I have a traveling companion, one of my really good friends, and she is amazing. Just easygoing, down to earth. We travel the exact same. No checked luggage. We travel very light. We want to explore, adventure. We don't want to plan the whole trip. We like the same food. We drink the same wine. Just, she's really fun to be around and easygoing. And she's also very passionate about traveling and getting to do all of the things. And she's single, so it makes it a little bit easier. She'll just do whatever, whenever. But yeah, we travel together all over.
From 15 to 25, whose opinion of you was the most important to you?
My dad's.
And then from 25 to 35?
My dad's.
And now?
Brandon's.
Okay. I was thinking you could say yourself.
I should have.
You could, but if it's a visceral reaction from you, it would make sense that it's Brandon. So from your dad to Brandon.
Yeah, so that shows you where I'm at still with my self-growth.
Neither is right or wrong, yeah.
But I want to get to the point where my natural reaction is myself. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't my natural instinct at all 3 of those questions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I don't know if it's right or wrong, because I think honesty is even more important on that. Yeah, 100% dad is my answer too for the majority of life. And recently it has been more about myself.
That's awesome.
But there's still so many lingering moments of many other people, like that will cave in, And then it's, no, just this podcast alone. I always tell people, like, there's ghosts in your deathbed, right? There's like phantoms in your deathbed. What are your phantoms? One of my phantoms was not having this podcast. That was the only one, actually. That's gone. And I like looked out the window and I'm like, cool, you're no longer here. There's no more ghost on my deathbed.
That's amazing.
And I think after that moment is when I said, now only my opinion matters.
Yeah. How good does that feel?
Oh, just like the biggest high. Like this right now is a 10 out of 10 high for me.
Yeah.
I was always very nervous already going into this episode. We had talked at dinner a lot too. There's nerve wracking and our frizzy hair, like all those things can, but then this record hits and I'm flowing. This is my passion. We've went way over time.
I know.
And
you're going to have to cut out like some of these.
I probably won't, because this is the beauty of the beginning stages. And again, Maddie Mayo, one of our guests, was recently put this on her Instagram. So if you're not following her, again, it's just Maddie Mayo. Follow her. She made a post about embracing your beginning journey. And for her, it was dancing. So tripping, falling, being out of rhythm, not getting your steps in properly, and just fumbling around. She was like, she wished that was her only regret in her past of her upbringing into this career, that she didn't embrace that more, because people like you, me, her, we're going to make it. Like, it's just, that's why our answer is hanging out with the DJ instead of the dream car. Like, we're going to get those things.
Definitely.
Those external factors, like, they're just going to happen. Like today was a luxury day. We had Wagyu and shit like that. Like this inner slut in us is just like super happy.
Yes. So happy.
So we're going to get those things. But like today, this being a 2-hour episode, it probably won't have like millions of viewers anyway. Hopefully it does. But regardless, it being the beginning, like this is embracing, like your friends are going to be the top supporters of this episode, right? Your friends and family and anyone else that's a good supporter of the show. So it's going to be a limited audience. Why wouldn't I talk to you for these 2 hours? Because again, I've wanted you on the show for a while. I think you have a lot of qualities that men and women can both be inspired by.
Thank you.
For the men, again, a healthy, good-looking woman with a good career that's also vulnerable about the things that she may not be perfect in, when she's also showing you like the main issue with also high-performing woman being that dominating characteristic. But then they also say, put me in my place. And it's, what is this? We're confused.
What do you want from me?
Exactly. And well, here's your fucking answer. We did it through this episode. I've been looking for these answers too. And I don't even know if that's my type of woman or if it's like a wife. I'm exploring, right?
Yeah.
But now we're getting some answers from different types of women and men.
That's right.
So that's been the goal. We will say this. If you could do anything with your life, money was not an object, and the opinions of your dad or Brendan didn't matter, what would you do?
That's so easy. I would sell everything and just be a nomad and travel consistently and never stop.
I think that's pretty similar to me too. Yeah. Because again, you're just looking for that adventure.
Yeah.
Of life. We're just curious.
Yeah.
We're just curious about everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Great answer. Therapy. You went through a little bit of therapy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A couple years.
Mm-hmm. And that was during your marriage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Through my marriage and then after my divorce.
Mm-hmm. And you said the therapy was good, but it was more coddling.
Yes, definitely. It was like I was going in to talk to a buddy and I vented and she reassured me that everything I was feeling was normal and comforted me in the things that was happening was normal in life and I'm going to be fine and I'll see you next week. And after I made it through my divorce, I started rebuilding my confidence and being really comfortable living on my own, and I had a new community of friends and great career and all of the things. I didn't feel like I needed that type of therapy anymore. I didn't need to pay her $150 a week to go in and her to tell me, you're doing great. You're exactly where you should be. But looking back now, I'm at a different stage in my life and I have a lot better understanding of who I am and my childhood trauma and my attachment style and, you know, what I'm looking for in a therapist. I definitely want to get back into it, but I want to be more selective in the next therapist I go to because I want them to line up with my needs in life moving forward and helping me through this next stage of progression.
And the reason I didn't stop the podcast after our beautiful sentiment of what the goal was of having Ashlee on is because the same thing with therapy was her answer on someone put me in my place, whether it's therapy, whether it's a partner, whether it's our friend group, hold us accountable, basically. Hold us accountable on the places we're not perfect. And again, someone that's high performing in health, career, even inner growth, like all those really important, because high performing, we leave out that part, right? Inner growth, our responsibilities, we leave those parts out. That includes even her saying she went to therapy. It wasn't great because she was getting people pleased from the therapist, basically. As great as therapy is, she didn't even hide from the fact that it was mainly just coddling. It was almost just being parented. But at the same time, you want to take it back on and you want to be held accountable. That put in your place thing, again, it's just really accountability.
Yeah. And I want to grow to a stage in my life where I'm secure out of a relationship and in a relationship.
Isn't that the craziest thing? Like, we have so many different words for this, and many people making courses out of it, and all kinds of narcissist, people pleaser, or this and that. Man, all we really want to do is we want to grow as human beings, and we want to find someone that also wants to grow. And there is no perfection. Let's just grow together. And it's better to do this with a partner for long durations rather than just do it all by yourself. And
Definitely.
It's important to admit that to yourself instead of choosing the easy answer of it's easy to travel by myself. I've got a traveling partner, Anna, and we'll just do that and then not have anyone to be growing a life with, right?
Yeah.
Choosing all the hard things and all the hard conversations.
Yeah, I know. And look, Anna would pack up with me tomorrow and we would move to Barcelona if I wanted to.
You're safe in that too. You've got a great backup plan. Just being honest. Watch out, Brandon.
No, she's amazing. Definitely. She's single too.
There you go. There you go. We'll replace her Instagram tags with Anna's Instagram tags.
There you go. Look, I have a great group of friends and most of them are single.
She's not lying. She's not lying. She has the most badass group of friends and they're all attractive. It's ridiculous. If any of you are looking for elites of females to hang out with and smooze, go find them. Go find them. Get your shit together first, but yeah, go find them.
But look, they're strong, independent women. So with that comes a little bit of the challenge. You need to be ready with your confidence if you're going to hit them up.
100%. You've done such a great job at exemplifying everything I'm going for through this podcast. My last question to you is, if you knew you were going to die in 10 years, you knew your death date, it's coming, it's happening in 10 years regardless, would you do anything different than what you're already doing in every aspect of your life?
Yes.
Yeah? Which parts?
Yeah, I would travel more. I'm going back to, this is like my regular answer, but again, I'm really passionate about it right now. I would travel more and adventure more and spend less time working and more time with the people that are most important in my life.
And what's stopping you from going more towards that now, which I think you are. I think you are going towards that. Because, this was the distinction. Okay, we thrive in chaos. We want routine, and that saves us. But at the same time, that's a big part of our childhood responses, basically, trauma responses. And then you also have that glimpse of a spiritual awakening when you go see Europe. And you see how relaxed they are. We had that conversation on Instagram that every time you go to Europe and you come back, you're like, why can't human beings also live like this and still have a good life and have the adulting going? So have you found a little more thought going into those narratives?
Yeah, the other side of it is I'm a little bougie. I like nice things.
Same. We are such a good match for this.
And I have to work at a high functioning job that makes a lot of money to live that lifestyle. And the experiences that I've experienced in Europe, it's not that lifestyle. It's minimalistic. People don't own cars. They're not working jobs 40 hours a week. They go to work from 10 till 4 and take a 2-hour siesta in the middle of the day. And it's a different lifestyle in a lot of countries in Europe.
It's still true to this day, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad told me that was like his experience in the 80s. So they've maintained and they're okay.
And they're thriving. Let me tell you, They are living life and happy. But here, I could have that lifestyle here, definitely, but I couldn't have all of the nice things that I like too. It's easy to say that that's what I would strive to do, but also I could make that happen here if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But I like my nice race car and my red bottoms and Wagyu steak.
It's so nice sometimes. Capitalism is amazing.
I know. But living here, that's the lifestyle I would want. But I could easily, I think, go to Europe and fall into that type of lifestyle and be very happy.
And I hope you get that balance going before you die in 10 artificial years.
Yeah.
That are coming up, because everyone dies after this podcast for some reason.
Yeah, I'm working towards it.
Good.
Harwood is amazing, and I have a really good work-life balance. And it allows me to take these awesome trips and not be afraid to ask for vacation and do those things that not a lot of us get to do. And then the no kids thing, that helps a lot. So it's a good balance for the life that I'm living here in the States.
Even in your friend circle, there's
no kids.
Yeah. We're already way over limit anyway, so hold me accountable to this one, but I do want to talk about it because it just came into my head. It wasn't even on the notes. Your friend circle, she wasn't lying when she said it's just a group of badass single ladies, all attractive, doing great things with their lives in high career positions too. None of these are made up, and I'm telling you, I have good taste in human beings. Like, her circle is very certified. More women, more human beings should just have that in general. You have that. What do you think separated your friend group from being that?
I'm very picky about who I spend my time with. Mm-hmm. And we need to have the same general goals in life. And they need to have a good vibe. That's like such a millennial quote, right? But I'm about the vibe and what brings me peace and happiness and joy, but also a sense of respect for each other. And I want people in my life that make me better. And when you hold your friends accountable in that way, they either make it or they don't. When you have that confidence, your friend group starts to reflect that. Once you make that declaration, for me at least, once I made that declaration and I wanted substance, and if you weren't providing that substance or helping me grow into a better person or making me better, but also I like to make them better too. What I get, I want to give also.
Yeah.
And you attract that in life. As soon as that becomes your goal, I instantly started making friends that reflected that list.
So it goes back to the same thing you were saying before. What you put your focus on is what you attract, right?
That's right.
It literally is as simple as that. And again, we don't really we don't have that as our intention in our guidebook, and then boom, magic happens. You just act on it and it just happens, right?
Yeah, your focus becomes your reality. And mindset is almost everything. No matter what you're doing in life, where your mindset is at is exactly the way you're going to feel. So I try really hard. If I'm not feeling good, or the vibe isn't good, or this person isn't meeting my expectations, what's the mindset? What's my focus right now based on this interaction? Is my expectation for them to be this big, meaningful interaction that I have to find substance in this? Or is this just a casual, nothing conversation? Which both of them are good at certain points in life, but it's your focus.
As important as it is, I do want all of you to have a great friend group like she does, just because it's so beneficial for everyone to have that, because you guys go out party and it just brings a whole different energy. It's also important because your inner circle, like your friends, can actually either determine or destroy some of your relationships too.
Absolutely.
Because they know you the best, right? Now, depending on what type of group of friends you're in, those opinions can be absolutely useless, and stay away from the opinion of your friends. A lot of cultures and groups will tell you, don't ever let your parents or friends enter your relationship, which is true for the most part. But then you have a good group like yours. I would say anyone in your circle would probably get some good opinions if you weighed in on whoever they're dating or seeing. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, and you probably want that. And you might have even had experiences where someone in your friend group was dating someone, and you guys did not see that being a good fit for them, and it probably played out.
Yeah. It we have a lot of respect for each other, and we're there for each other and very supportive. But also, I think we recognize that just because we don't like a man in their life, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to drop them right away. But you have to let it play out naturally. And if they choose to be with that person, then they're getting something out of it, or that's where they are in their life. And it's important just to be there and support them through that, even if you don't agree with it.
And that's a characteristic I'm seeing in you that's very rare on other people, is you're not overbearing. You're not jumping in trying to change someone's life. You're letting it play out.
Thank you.
That's very rare. That's tough, because people want that sense of control over their friends, over anyone they have any influence over. They want that sense of control. Like, nope, but you don't even really step in until it's actually solicited.
Yeah. I'll be there for them, and I will be 100% honest if they ask. Or also, sometimes it's unsolicited. If it gets to the point where I feel like they're losing themselves, or it's really starting to affect them in ways that maybe they're not seeing, I am not afraid to sit down and have that conversation. But also, I'm only going to have that conversation a couple of times. And if you choose to still stay in that relationship, then that's for you 100%. And I'll be there for you as soon as it doesn't play out, because that's what your real friends should be doing. And if your friends aren't doing that for you, or if they are trying to consistently manipulate the relationships you have with other people, then they're not a good friend.
I'm really glad we continued and got to this point, because I'm so surprised it took me this long to even recognize that part in you. But that is the most valuable thing that I look for personally in a friend, is don't give me unsolicited advice unless it's looking detrimental, because then you just have someone that's picking on you, and it's usually out of their own insecurities of their own life. You probably know this because we're pretty similar. Yeah, their insecurities are the ones that they're taking out on you by nitpicking you. And
definitely.
Like, who wants a nitpicker in their circle? Mm-hmm. That's so annoying.
Or they're insecure about losing you in their life. So they sabotage all the other relationships.
Yeah.
You find both sometimes.
This deep level of thinking, but also practicality and just going with the flow. Again, these are all the things. Thank you for having me in your circle.
Yeah.
Thank you for welcoming me.
You fit the vibe.
I'm really glad I do. This is a great circle to be in. Please share this episode, share this podcast. This has been one of the most meaningful episodes for me. Personally, this entire day has been great. I'm glad we finally made it happen with someone I've been wanting to do this with for years. So again, please, for the success of this podcast, share. And do you want them to follow you or keep up with you?
Yeah, follow me.
There we go. And especially check out Harwood, man. Check out the district yourself. Check out all the things. Happiest Hour, you've probably already been there. Check out the new hotel. Check out the restaurants, the speakeasy. Just check out the entire district for yourself. It is the most unique Dallas experience you'll have. And I stand by that just from experiencing it. And again, with the limited amount of viewers we have, this is not a sponsored episode. So
not yet. We're going to get there.
100%.
Share the episode.
Okay. Podcast over. Thanks for being in the
Yeah. We got it.
Awesome.